Hi, this is Tim Jones. I'm the composer for Chuck, and you're listening to Chuck versus the Podcast.
Hi, my name is Graham Jones, but you can call me Gray. This is my show. It's about Chuck. It's filled with interviews, the latest news, crazy co-hosts, and spoilers that'll make your day. Oh, wait, I need to go back. I host these TV nights. They used to be pretty boring, but everything changed when I found NBC's new show, Chuck. Pretty soon, my TV night got pretty crowded. Guys I didn't even know were showing up the door. Big, important guys. Really scary, nasty, get killed for hosting them guys. Next thing I know, these super episodes are downloaded into my brain, which means every moment of my life, I'm thinking about Chuck. ChuckTV.net sent their top people to protect me. That's Mel and Liz. They're pretty zany. They co-host with me now as a cover. So now I must welcome you to Chuck versus the Podcast, the first and only podcast for NBC's Chuck. This is Gray.
This is Mel.
And Liz.
And you're listening to episode 3 of Chuck versus the Podcast. This is the only podcast about NBC's Chuck. How you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Last time I had a cold, and this time I'm feeling a lot better.
You sound better.
Yeah.
That's great. We're a little cold down here.
It's pretty chilly up here, too. Of course, Toronto, Canada. It's cold.
We're a balmy 35 today in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that's not too bad.
No.
Well, anyway, it's going to be a shorter episode this week. We don't have any Chuck episodes to cover, and we're still working on landing our next interview, which will be soon. However, there's lots of news, so we wanted to get a podcast out sooner than later. We want to thank everyone for your votes in January. We did really well. We hit the number 4 film and TV podcast out of over 1,000. And overall, we were number 42, I think, out of almost 38,000 podcasts in January.
Woohoo!
Really, really pleased about that.
That's awesome. Thanks, you guys. We really appreciate you guys voting for us.
And lots of Liz's pretty comments.
I saw that. So you guys rock.
And we'll get to that a little later. But of course, the biggest news this week is that the writer's strike is finally over. Mel, what can you tell us about the details?
Well, it is terrific news. The WGA voted overwhelmingly in favor of the new contract that was presented to them last weekend. The vote was finalized to approve it on Tuesday, which was February the 12th, and the writers went back to work on Wednesday, February the 13th. The contract is now, it is officially, the writer's strike is officially over, but there's still a ratification process that the contract has to go through, and that's expected to be done by February 25th, and then everything will be, kind of set in stone. But the strike is over.
Woohoo!
Yay!
The word that I'm getting is that they didn't achieve everything they wanted to, but they're really happy about it.
They made some big strides in areas that they were most concerned about, primarily the new media, like internet downloading and streaming on the network websites. When you go to NBC.com and you can watch an episode of Chuck on the network's website, there was some disagreement about how the writers should be compensated for that. And so they made some big gains as far as those areas go, which made them very happy.
And I think it's important that everybody realizes that this is actually a historic thing. What I've heard is in the last 20, 30 years, unions have been getting a really bad rap. And this is, people are calling it one of the most successful strike resolutions that people have seen in quite a long time.
It was very positive. Obviously, we went through a couple months there where there was quite a bit of animosity, but once they did decide to go back to the table and talk about it, I think both sides feel like they really got about the best deal that they could expect. And I think really just looking ahead to what technology is going to be within the next 3 years, because that's how long this contract will be in place is 3 years. Both sides kind of feel like they addressed the issues and had overall a positive result.
That's wonderful news. Mm-hmm. But the question on everybody's minds is, what does this mean for Chuck? And Liz, you've got some news for us there?
Well, unfortunately, it appears that we won't see Chuck for the rest of this season. That has not been confirmed. However, it's pretty much looking like that. The good news is Chuck will be back, has been picked up for season 2.
Woo-hoo!
Yay. It looks like getting production back up and running is proving to be a little bit more difficult than they originally had thought. So the showrunners, they really want to focus on solidifying their goals for season 2, map out, story arcs, and that can only mean a good thing for season 2.
Absolutely. Some people have been talking about whether next season will be the same size or whether it'll be stretched because of this writer strike. Do you know anything about that?
Nothing official yet. NBC hasn't said exactly how many episodes they've ordered for season 2. Chuck got a full season pickup for this first season for 2007, 2008. And obviously that's probably not going to happen. So we still have another 8 or 9 episodes that could have been produced. So NBC may decide to order, kind of a supersized season of Chuck and maybe give us a few extra episodes, but nothing official has been released about that just yet. So as soon as there is news on that front, of course, we will let you know.
Of course. And just to clarify, it wouldn't be anything new for NBC. They were going to be doing that for Heroes this last year. They had ordered 30 episodes, and unfortunately it was cut short because of the writer's strike, but that was their plan, to have a supersized season for Heroes.
They did the same thing with The Office, actually. They ordered 30 episodes, and then they did like 4 or 5 hour long instead of half-hour episodes. So yeah, it wouldn't be new. I think the new president of NBC is really experimental and kind of likes to shake things up, not do things the traditional way. So if he would like to do that with Chuck and give us 26 episodes instead of 22, that would be fine and dandy. Go right ahead.
Hey, no problem.
We will watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. For our listeners from around the world, Chuck may be coming to you sooner than the fall, and you guys have some news for us, particularly from down under?
Yeah, Yvonne and Zach are in Australia right now doing the press tour for the launch of Chuck. We don't have a specific date yet, but it looks like April is the tentative launch, and it'll be on Channel 9. Kind of an amusing thing that just happened. We've got some photos of Zach and Yvonne filming some promos on a beach in Sydney. They're posted at chucktv.net, and you're probably seeing them right now if you have the enhanced version of the podcast. And there's, it looks like Zach is holding up like an egg or something, and Yvonne's laughing at him. That's my interpretation anyway. But when we posted it, we said, I don't know what the deal is with this egg or this tooth or whatever it is. I couldn't tell what it was. And right before we started recording this podcast, I got an email from Bob, and he said that he read that the egg-looking thing in the Chuck photographs is actually a heart that is used in some of the commercial advertising by Channel 9. And it may have had something to do with Valentine's Day as well, but that was just a guess on his part. So apparently there's some connection with that, whatever that thing is, and Channel 9. So that was kind of amusing that he sent that in just mere seconds before we started recording this. So good timing, Bob. And thanks for the info. But yeah, they are down in Australia right now, which means that we'll be bringing you interviews and photos and such from Zach and Yvonne's trip to Australia in the next few weeks leading up to the premiere. And we encourage all of our listeners down in Australia to tell your friends and watch Chuck when it premieres on Channel 9.
Absolutely. And hopefully those promos come up on YouTube at some point.
They will. Yeah. God bless YouTube.
And of course, as we reported on our last podcast, Zachary Levi's film Spiral hit the stores is hitting the stores probably the same day that our podcast hits the airwaves. Liz, do you have some news about a special opportunity?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Zach will be signing copies of the Spiral DVD at Burbank Bookstore Dark Delicacies on February 26th. So if anybody's around the area, pop in, visit Zach. If you need more information, just call 818-556-6660.
Man, I got to move to LA.
No kidding.
They get it all out there, don't they?
Yeah, speaking about that, lots of people have been talking about the Paley Festival. What do you guys know about that?
The Paley Festival happens every spring. It's a 2-week-long festival, mostly showcasing new shows. And then they also will do kind of some retro panels. Basically, what they do is they will showcase 10 or 15 shows, and they will have a moderated panel, Q&A, question and answer discussion with the cast and showrunners and crew who are available. And this year, one of their panels will be for Chuck.
Very cool.
That'll be on March 18th at 7 p.m. at the ArcLight Theater. Our roving reporter, Roz, will be filing a report for ChuckTV.net and Chuck versus the podcast after she attends the Paley Fest on that night. And we hope to have, some sound bites or photos or whatever we can get. I know they're kind of strict on their policy as far as pictures and video and stuff. But at the very least, our gal on the street will be reporting back on what she saw and heard and any news that came out of that.
Very cool. Can't wait to hear from Roz. On a personal note, I'm really excited that I just started editing a very cool TV show. I mention it mainly because I think a lot of Chuck viewers would be the right target audience for this show. It's called Inc. Alter Egos Exposed. And the series interviews dozens of really famous comic book writers. For instance, even Stan Lee.
Wow.
You may have heard of him.
Yes.
Todd McFarlane, Frank Miller, a number of other really big names like Jeff Loeb. And they interview them and talk about sort of the deeper themes and modern mythology that's created in comic books. And it's a really, really interesting series. Right now, it's going to be airing in Canada in a couple of months. But the plan is that it's going to be down in the States, hopefully very soon, possibly even by the fall. We're hoping to get it on Sci-Fi Network, and you would really enjoy it if you can see it.
Well, that would be an excellent companion piece for another show that happens to be on Sci-Fi Network right now.
As a matter of fact, Chuck is airing on the Sci-Fi Channel right now. Every Friday night, you can catch Chuck at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central Time.
Wouldn't that be cool if Gray's new show started airing back-to-back with Chuck reruns?
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Very, very cool.
It's a small world after all.
Is that the only place that is airing the second run of the first season?
At the moment, as far as we know, if our listeners have any other information, do send that in. But as far as we know, Sci-Fi is the only place to watch Chuck right now on network television. But you can also watch some episodes at NBC.com, or you can purchase episodes from Amazon.com to download to your PC or laptop and watch those. And there's a link to the Amazon download page on chucktv.net.
Great. Up here in Canada, there's been word that Space Station might show it, and possibly some of the smaller local stations, but we haven't actually had any confirmation on that yet.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Now on to listener emails. Liz, can you get us started?
Well, I just wanted to give a shout out to Sydney, who writes in. First of all, she used the magical, mystical phrase, Liz is pretty, and that gets her name mentioned on this podcast. So, in my opinion,
Yeah.
She was wanting to know, I think, Gray, you already answered this. She really wanted to know where in Canada she'd be able to get